Hey class, Dr. D is here to talk to you about Module 4 Expectations. This is going to be a fun module where there's lots to do. There's going to be no discussion, but we are going to be doing some really fun things. And I'll be going over those in just a second. I hope you guys had a good Easter and that your Module 3 work will be graded and we'll get that in soon to you. I know because of there's an outage with SNHU that Blackboard pushes that they're going to have work due today, actually on March 28th, Monday. You got extended by 1 day, so I'm going to be grading your things on Tuesday, March 29th. So you guys basically gained an extra day to turn in your Module 3 work. Okay. So right now I have my laptop pulled up and we're going to be going through some things. If you want to pause this video at any time, please do so you can follow along with me. The first thing I have open is the Module 4, Learning Module 4 folder, and I want to talk to you about what you're going to be learning this week. The focus is multiple regression analysis. This has many names. Multiple linear regression is one of them. But let's keep it simple. You're going to be learning how many variables influence or affect or relate to one other measured variable. This is going to be really fun. I'm working on projects that involve multiple regression analyses, and I'm glad that you guys get to get your hands on it and start to understand how this works. So the first thing I'm going to look over is, number one, we don't have a discussion. Number two, I'm going to look at the final project milestone, number 3, called qualtrics input and participation notification. There's no rubric for this. This is more of an action that you'll need to do. And what this says is you need to do two things. Number one, make sure that you're going to go to the qualtrics software. And it's going to be making your survey that you're going to give to your participants. And you have to make a Qualtrics account before you do this. So make sure, number one, you go on and you make a Qualtrics account. And then this is all located in your Milestone 4 folder, as you can follow along. The second piece, compose an introductory message to your participants. Now remember, guys, you're sending this out to strangers, people, they're not strangers, but let's say they're people that are outside of our class. So they're not going to know this as well as you do or your class peers that were together in 520. So remember, think of a short message that's going to inform somebody off the street basically what this is about and why they should help out and what you're measuring. So we're going to want to make sure you have that introductory message. And it says to do this by Thursday. You see that there? You'll want to revise anything that I have mentioned on your surveys before putting this out for participants. So that's what you're going to do for project milestone 3 is first create a Qualtrics account, make your survey, and put a message in it and get it ready for your participants. But please do not send it to them yet. Let's switch gears and go to the SPSS Assignment 1, Multiple Regression. In this, you're going to be learning about multiple regression, working with SPSS and an existing dataset called the popularity dataset. I'm going to open up the rubric for this, and it's very brief. I think I'll spend more time on the assignment itself than the rubric, but please remember what I'm saying in the rubric is going to apply to the assignment. So let's look at the proficient category. There's 3 rows. Number 1 is understanding of concepts. It says, discuss concepts covered in assignment with no gaps in accuracy or detail on all or most questions. The needs improvement discusses concepts covered in assessment but with minor gaps in accuracy or detail on all or most questions. So you'll see this when we go through the assignment, but discussing the concepts, and that's going to mean for you talking, sentences, explaining. You're going to want to explain why. This is no longer saying a yes, no, significant. It's going to be explaining. So make sure you're aware of that. So number 2, application of technology. It says to utilize SPSS with no errors in procedure on all or most questions versus on the needs improvement uses SPSS with minor errors. So please just make sure you're correctly using SPSS, and that should be fine. Lastly, analysis of data. Analyzes data with no errors on all or most questions. Analyzes data with minor errors on all or most questions. So in this piece, just make sure you're doing your data analysis correctly and that you're making the right inferences and that it's been entered and used correctly in SPSS. Okay, so since we've talked about the rubric, let's go ahead and switch gears and let's open up the assignment. So if you need to do that, please pause the video now and we can start talking about this assignment. Okay, I have it open here, the SPSS assignment for multiple linear regression. Please notice in multiple linear regression, the reason you have the word multiple is because you're going to have many variables, and we want to know how all these variables interact with each other to produce an outcome, or to see how significant the relationship is between all of them. In this popularity data set, you have an ID number, their sex, their age, popularity, extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, neuroticism, and openness. These are all measured traits that we're going to find out what contributes to being popular. Right now you can think maybe some of these contribute more so than others. An easy example of this is what if I did a multiple linear regression and I wanted to say what are the factors that really make somebody a great basketball player. And I said I have gender, height, jump ability, typing words per minute, reading level, cigarette smoking, and age. Well, if you were listening to all of those, what's one of the variables that you think would instantly be a factor? I would have to guess height, because there's a lot of utilization of height in basketball. So might suspect immediately we might see height being more of a significant variable than maybe words per minute typing, right? Are we going to find any relevance if we gave someone an exercise and they said I can type this many words per minute, and we say, wow, you're probably going to be a great basketball player? Doesn't make sense, but we know that height might be more influential. So that's the type of mindset to take into this. And let's see, question 1. Describe in your own words what type of research situations call for a researcher to use a multiple regression analysis. So that's where the rubric comes in on the first row that says discussion, that you discuss the concepts correctly. That's question 1 is having that happen. You should talk about multiple linear regression, talk about dependent variables, independent variables, and really just explain to me in your own words, why do you feel that a researcher needs to use, or when and what type of research needs multiple regression analysis, basically. Number 2, run a basic correlation of matrices on popularity, extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, neuroticism, and openness. When you do a correlation matrix, you're going to see a pattern, and you're going to see how all of these variables correlate with each other. Okay? Once you look at those, question 2b says, based on the results, which personality variables are significantly correlated with popularity? Well, I can't tell you, but looking at the first row of your correlation matrices, its popularity, look across and see which ones are significant at the 0.05 level and whether they're significant positively or negatively. I'll give you a hint. If it's significant and there's a negative sign on the Pearson correlation, that tells you there's a negative correlation. So for my silly example of basketball ability, if we see words per minute is significantly related, but it's the Pearson correlation's negative 42.5, then that means it negatively relates to predicting a good basketball player. So I would know in my model that while if I ever want to consider words per minute, it's going to negatively predict. It's not going to help me predict a good basketball player. And it's significant. So you can have positive and negative influences. Let's go to 3a. It says, conduct a multiple regression analysis using extroversion, agreeableness, conscientiousness, neuroticism, openness as predictors of popularity. So you're going to throw all these into a model, and it's going to give you some output, and you're going to look at the model summary, and that big R versus the R squared, that's going to say how much of explained variance is done by this model. So let's just pretend my model of basketball predicting had an R of 0.90. I could say 90% of the variance is explained by this model. That's a pretty good model. So the higher it approaches 1, the better. Your R squared is adjusted to account for any changes, and no, I'm sorry, the adjusted R squared. I looked at the wrong one. The adjusted R squared accounts for any changes within the model, and that can change from your original R. And it's always better to use adjusted R squared. That's what we use in our work. Okay, let's look on 3B. Which variables are significant predictors of popularity? Compare and contrast the results from multiple regression analysis to the basic correlation results from question 2B. Okay, so look back to 2B and tell me which variables are significant predictors of popularity. If we scroll back up and look, there we go. We pointed out which ones are significant. Okay, 3B. And it says compare and contrast the results from the multiple regression analysis to the basic correlation results from question 2B. All right. Moving forward, 3C. What is the R squared of this model, and what does it tell us about how this model predicts popularity? Well, I kind of talked about that already. And I said you should use adjusted R squared, but please use what the instructions say. Don't, if I said adjusted R squared, please, if the assignment says R squared, please report R squared. I have to grade you accordingly to the instructions of this. Don't put adjusted. Just please put what is the R squared of this model, and what does it tell us about how well this predicts popularity. Okay, 3D, it says write the results of the multiple regression in APA style. For help, refer to the regression section in this document. This is really straightforward. All you're going to do is open that link of this document, and you're going to write up your summary in APA style, which I'll look for, and present it there in the paragraph. And it's going to have a professional APA formal way of presenting the results of your multiple regression analysis. Okay, so that wraps up the multiple regression. Let's move down to the last thing that you're going to be doing, and it's 4.3, collect data from your participants. Now this is not a graded activity, but it's a required and necessary activity, because if you don't do it, you have no data for your study and you cannot complete the class. Okay, so collecting data from the participants. What you're going to do is, once you have activated your qualtrics material and deployed your survey, you're going to put it in the 510-520 Research Methods Student Lounge. There's a blue link in the Module 4 folder that lets you go there. Please create a post in the Student Lounge and link your survey. Please encourage your peers to respond to your survey by Thursday of Module 5. Let me look at the calendar so we can have a hard deadline. And what that is for us is April 7th. So please, while you're doing this, make it clear to your participants that they have till April 7th to take your survey. And then it says, once you've gotten at least 7 people, put back on your thread 7 respondents have been reached. That way everyone has a fair chance at getting respondents. So yes, you're going to want to get more than 7, but we want to make sure everybody in our class gets at least 7. So when you reach your 7, let everyone know, and you can still continue to collect participants. It says in bold right here in the section I'm talking about in Module 4 folder, deploy your survey in the Psych 510-520 Research Methods Student Lounge in the SNHU Connect by Sunday, 11:59. There is no grade for this assignment. So what that says for us is you need to get that survey out there by April 3rd. It's Sunday, April 3rd. That's the approaching Sunday. So get it done this week. And once again, I need to recap and say, please do not post it there until you have heard from me about any items that I advise you to correct. Okay, it says I'm scooching back up on this Module 4 folder, back up to Final Project Milestone 3, Qualtrics Input and Participation Notification. In bold it says due by Thursday. This is getting your Qualtrics registered and survey made. Note that you will want to revise the items as advised by your instructor before contacting your participants in the collect data from participation task. Well, that about sums up Module 4. If you want a quick review, you got to make a survey, register with Qualtrics, do an SPSS assignment on multiple regression, and then you have to go and load your survey in the student lounge appropriately and make sure that you let everybody, your participants, know that they need to take it by April 7th. One last thing, please remember while you're making your Qualtrics account and that you're making your survey to include a small message in there for your participants. All this can be found in your Module 4 folder under Learning Modules in our class. I hope my explanations have helped you a little more in understanding what we're doing this week together. Tomorrow I'm going to be starting to grade Module 3 work. I hope you guys had a great Easter and that you're doing well. I'll talk to you soon. Take care.